Welcome to Today's Truth. I'm Teresa Butler.
I'm Roxie H.
And today we're going to talk about blended families. Blended families. We live in a world today in our country where blended families are very common.
Yes.
They used to be shamed on and quiet as kept and under the rug years ago, but now it's in such of a place where it's so accepted that even same-sex marriages have other people coming in when it's like a person who's been divorced or separated. They're coming with children and saying they're blended even in same-sex marriages or unions. So that's how common it is now.
That's true.
My personal experience has been wonderful. My stepdad took all of us kids on, and he's the most wonderful father in the world. So I have a really good experience with blended families, and I myself have a blended family. Do you want to talk about anything with the blended family?
Well, I'm a product of a stepchild, so
Okay.
and my experiences were, there were some rough patches where it came to discipline. My mom and my stepfather figuring out what is the right discipline for myself and my sister when we were growing up. I think the most important thing when it comes to that is a meeting of the minds.
Right.
Sitting down with the mom, the step parent, the biological, and coming together and setting some rules, some boundaries, finding out what that other person's parenting style is and how you can bring it all together. I think that would eliminate a lot of problems that blended families have. But for the most part, I always, like my stepfather was the best. He was just the absolute best for me.
I think the blended families today are probably even more functionable than the traditional family because the world has changed so dramatically. So then when you have these different points of view coming in, a lot of the times the blended family is more successful because you have more people at the round table to collaborate on what works best for each family member. A difference of opinion can sometimes be a good thing when there's rationale and common ground.
Absolutely.
So those are the good things about blended families, I think. I would like to, when you're single and you eventually hook up with somebody, that might be something that people are looking for when they're coming from a blended situation because there's the understanding already.
Yes.
What are some of the pros about a blended family when you think you're looking for a mate?
The pros would be that you have another support system. You have an added person on that can cultivate the mind of the child and give them a different perspective, and it alleviates a lot of the pressure on the biological parents because it takes a village to raise a child. So to have that extra person in there that has your child's best interest at heart, that is definitely a pro.
Are we on time here? With the time, timer?
Oh, no.
Because we're going to need some time to talk about this. Now, one thing about blended families that's also a pro, I think things like when it comes to your children, you have a person who understands things about the needs of children. Needs of children are extensive.
Yes.
Roxie, with the doctor appointments and the school and sometimes there's a parent-teacher conference out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Needed. There's the showing up, because I'm the type of parent, I'm crazy like that. I sit on the block and see what's going on.
You're so funny.
You got to do it.
I'm an in-your-face parent.
Yes. And I feel like when you have a mate who knows and understands that, they don't object it because that could be a problem.
Definitely.
But they would also be willing to help meet,
Yes.
Because sometimes maybe I can't make it, maybe he can. And then vice versa. You know, Teresa, can you please go get so-and-so, such and such, and so-and-so?
Sure,
You know?
definitely.
Now, wait. What's the difference between a blended family coming together and trying to make the family work, or having a mate that has a problem family? I just gave a scenario. Now, what if you had a mate that always had a drunk uncle, always coming out of jail, got to go get him all the time, or a crazy auntie, she always got something cooking up, boosting and whatnot.
Right.
This is real talk.
It is.
What do you think are some of the boundaries when it comes to the cons of a blended family?
Well, I would definitely say that when it comes to each person's immediate family, there definitely should be some boundaries there. I mean, unless you forge a strong relationship with the aunt or someone of your husband or significant other, then it's pretty much kind of best just to stay out of it. And
You
just
think
be
so?
I do, and to be a sounding board, for your mate, and not so much get involved if they need to do a favor or look out or something like that, of course. But when it comes to strife and all that, I wouldn't get involved with it.
So are you saying even if the children are so, in hot water all the time, misconduct, poor performance, is that a limitation as well? Like the child is so out of control?
The child in your household, or
let's just say you or your mate, one of the two, if not both, have problem children, and then we can talk about the other family members that that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing that can really break up a marriage or destroy a relationship is the problem kid. And oftentimes where I think people, I would say, go wrong, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of, negativity from that, but I think where a lot of people go wrong is that they feel a high sense of obligation, and then they don't talk to the other, the other parent. Mm-hmm. And people sit down together who's directly involved and talk about what can we do as a unit. Most people make these big decisions by themselves, and they don't incorporate their support system. And then you're giving your support system a feeling of, well, I'm the father. I mean, I'm not living in the house, right?
But I should have a say.
Some kind of say. So I think that would eliminate a lot of problems in blended families. Is the unit get together and have those conversations and map out, because when your child is at home with you, there might be some set of rules, and then when they go over there, there's a whole nother environment that they're dealing with. See, that's another thing. When you're blending these families together, how do you mesh the two without static?
Yes.
I really think what you said about the understanding has to be so blatant that there's no room for misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. Everybody come together like they did on the Brady Bunch. Remember when the Brady Bunch sat down? Yes. They was like, look, we're going to do this. We're going to, with the dog and all this and that. And they even brought Alice in.
Yeah, that's true.
And it worked. Well, if you can manage your children, because what we're talking about managing inside the home, as far as being the key element, well, you should be smooth sailing. But now we're talking about the outside family members. Like you might get an aunt or an uncle that has special needs all the time, or you might get a mom, a mother or a father can be like, a commitment, like having another child, because sometimes there's things going on with the elderly, and it's usually around their health or their mentality, You talking about Alzheimer's, you talking about, just different elements that can really put a strain on a blended family. Now I'm talking about things that don't necessarily have anything to do with a blended family as far as a family who's just traditional, because these same elements can occur.
Definitely.
But I think when you're merging, because we don't want to give a misunderstanding to the viewers, because we know that these same things can go on into a traditional family. Of course, what we're saying is when you blend, the numbers go up, the ratio is higher.
Yes.
Is what we're talking about here. So
Yes.
let's clear that up so they don't think I'm crazy. But how do you work around the issues when the ratio is higher? I mean, because obviously when you have a blended family, and I'm speaking on experience, you're automatically inclined to deal with high stress environment.
Definitely.
You're already suited and booted to manage challenges, professionally, swiftly, lovingly. Take care of business.
I really believe the number one killer of blended families working together in a positive manner is oftentimes one of the love interests that brought a child into the world. One person is not really over the relationship, and then they're harboring that resentment, hurt, off of things that occurred in the relationship that has nothing to do with the kids. I think oftentimes we can use kids as a pawn. So you just like a male and the woman hurt her and she moves on and she gets with someone, but then the male can bring strife to the relationship using the kid, and vice versa. The man has moved on, he has a new woman, he and the mom can come in, I don't want my child around her, and this and that and that and this, And
She talking about baby mama, baby daddy drama.
Well, I guess the status does change when you become a divorcee. You are a baby mama, baby daddy then.
Well,
that really is the clincher. That's it right there.
The real terminology for that situation is a person who isn't all the way out of the relationship that he or she is leaving from. Because when somebody still has a hold or control or manipulation values over you and how you move and groove, y'all not through. You know what I mean? And people know my story, so I can say shamelessly that all my baby daddies and myself are respectable towards each other. There's no residue, there's no friction, there's no foolishness. It's a clean show, and that's the way I like it, because I don't like messiness,
True. Yeah.
So I think that all that foolery is just two people that are technically not all the way through with each other.
There hasn't been a resolve. There hasn't been a closure in that relationship.
Right. It has to be that way, because why else would a person be able? They have to be enabled to be able. You have to enable a female or a male to have that room to show up and act a fool for them to be able to do that. See, but when you got a clean show,
there's no.
They know the show run at 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
7:30 you drop them off. The next viewing is the next day at 5 o'clock after school.
Absolutely.
It's the same, there's no.
I think the ideal would be everybody being able to come together. Like if the child has a birthday or Christmas or something like that, the family unit can come together, spend time together, show the child that we are here to support you, because it's all about, it's supposed to be all about the child.
Oh yeah, see, now I have found myself in a place in my life where I can go even higher. Like I'm really socially, wonderfully cool, where I can congratulate other baby mamas, like, oh, you look fabulous, and from my heart, or because on social network we talk back and forth, and we talk about our children, and I think that's a beautiful place to not only love and embrace our children, but lift each other as women, and that's what I found myself engaging in.
Well, if you're tearing down the other woman, is she in a good mental place to give a positive environment to your child? And you can't stop your ex for taking the child where he wants to take the child,
Right.
or she. So why would you bring so much strife in an environment, sending your child into that kind of environment? I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't do that.
Looking back, my mother was that kind of woman. She got along with my stepmother. They got along great. And looking back on my personal life, I felt even more love.
Yes.
When these two would talk about my, my well-being,
Yes.
my health, my achievements, my opportunities, because I believed it, and their vibrational frequency was honest, and when I would go this way with mama or this way with stepmama, there was never any side talk or backbiting.
Yes.
It was a real, true thing. And I honestly can say from my personal experience, when they really are genuine, that child gets even more love and more proper rearing.
Yes.
From the blended family aspect.
Absolutely. I would be the first to say, having a biological father who was in my life and a stepfather, I felt a high level of love. Like I had two daddies. I couldn't go wrong. And they both loved me, and they both loved me enough to come together. Like when I moved into my first house, my dad and my stepfather moved me together.
Wow.
They worked together
See
with
that?
getting me into my place, or my stepfather would come over and help my dad fix something in my house that needed fixed. They can work together, and I think that is just the most ideal relationship, because I always felt loved. I always felt like I wasn't in the middle of something, that I can love my stepfather, but that doesn't take anything away from the love that I have for my father.
Right.
And kids harbor pain. They see parents fighting because this, with all the mess with, I don't want her around my da-da-da-da, and then the mom telling the baby don't like her because she ain't your mama, and this and that and that and this. And she's not your mother. They're not their mother, but they're a support person. They should be.
Yeah. If a person is a decent human being, and you can see that they have the best interest in your child's well-being, and they've done absolutely nothing to deter the verdict of that, I think that we as responsible adults should allow a little bit of room to see where it goes. Not full trust, if there's conditions,
Absolutely.
but just a little bit of room for growth and love to occur, and mutual respect for one another. I think that has a greater impact than, well, I don't want you, and don't be coming, and I don't want her knowing, all of this and that. Sometimes it's not necessary is what I'm saying. Sometimes it is, because sometimes folks is crazy.
Sometimes it can get, that's true. That's true.
But for the situations that you may suspect in your inner being that probably deserve more respect, why not give it and see, just a little room? Because that is so true.
Yeah.
So many people hamper the conditions of child rearing, simply because they have old emotional residue on them, and bad feelings and bad blood, and they're in a bad way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Women are really notorious for it, more than men are, I think.
Absolutely.
I've seen it a lot of times where the woman is so hell-bent on this other woman being the apple of his eye, where she just can't allow the growth or the bonding with her child. Even if there's a long-standing relationship there, like he and this woman over here have been together for like 3 years now, and you still at the door tripping, yelling all kind of obscenities out the door, and come on now. After a while, it's on you, because you crazy and you just can't get past nothing. Right.
And what does that say about you? You can't move. You haven't moved on yet.
Right. Even if the man cheated on you with her, there should come a point in time that you as an individual should grow enough where you can compliment them as a couple. You can be genuine in their happiness, because obviously they was meant to be together. You can get on with life and get yourself together. Why? Because you have a responsibility to yourself and your children to do some kind of moving on. going higher,
Yes.
right?
That is just my scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I was cheated on with my ex, and the woman that he's with now is who he ended up marrying.
You ain't by yourself,
And-
girl.
But the beautiful thing about it is that we can come together. If I see her, there was some resentment there in the beginning, of course, because we're battling for the love of my ex, and he, at the time was playing both sides. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Grown-ups can make things messy, but after all that has been resolved, it's just beautiful now that she and I can come to a place where, for my daughter's party, she was there. We took pictures together, we celebrated my daughter's birthday
I think that's
with,
nice.
with the father there. And I just think that that's a beautiful thing, that we
It
can
really
all
is.
come together and be the unit, the support unit for the child.
For the child.
And he has other, kids outside of our relationship with other moms, and I have a very good relationship with them.
But what does that say about you? That says that you are really confident and happy with your inner being.
Oh,
That you do
definitely.
not have to draw conclusions to create drama and keep static.
With they too. I mean, a couple of other moms I'm close enough with where we didn't need my kid's father to orchestrate the kids getting together and
Okay.
knowing one another. I can pick the phone up and call and say, hey, is it okay if I, drop the kids off, and vice versa. One of the mothers, we were so entwined together in loving on our kids and making sure they're brothers and sisters and they know each other and growing up with one another, where her kids will come over for the weekend and she can come in the house and help get them dressed to leave for church in the morning. Just coming together and putting that relationship stuff out of it, because what happened between us and him is between us and him. That the kids don't have anything to do with it. They didn't ask to be here, but they are here, and they have to deal with the residue of that. And they want to love on their brothers and sisters, and you can prevent them from building that relationship, all because you harboring over some old stuff. But I personally have come to a place where I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that my kid's father is not the love of my life. That is not my soulmate. That's not who I'm supposed to spend my life with. We had some good years. We had some bad years. But we were able to sit down, talk about what happened in our relationship, get some closure, and move on from it. And love each other in a platonic way. Love each other to know that I've spent a lot of years with this man, and we know each other. We have kids together. It would hurt me if harm came to him, and I would think vice versa. And it would hurt the kids if something happened to my kid's father that would devastate my babies. So why bring that kind of, strife in hard times and arguments on the other person when the kids are looking at all that? They're hurting too. I would never ever do that. I just think that it's great that we all can move to a place where we can celebrate one another.
Absolutely.
And we can celebrate our kids together and show them that adults can be together, support each other, and that supports the child.
Absolutely.
That's the ideal for me.
I came up in the era where men had children over here, they got kids over there. To this day, there's siblings I'll never ever know because of all of the secrecy and the lying and the pain and the hurt and the shame and the blame and the game and get up out of here.
Right.
Today, blended families have caused the veil to be lifted, like I said earlier in the program, where it's not like the preferred element of family like traditional is, because everybody would like to have the fairy tale wedding,
Yes.
life, picket fence, dog, cat, garden, but it doesn't always turn out that way.
No.
However, the beauty of it is that it's not as much of a an oppressive big deal to try to, cover up and go to your grave with. Nowadays, I think the embrace of the love of the children is so strong that it overcomes
Yes.
your kids walking around and end up going with their brother or sister because they didn't know that was their brother or sister because of the shame of the blended family and So it's victorious in a lot of ways. It is what it is. We got to keep on keeping on. But when you keep on with a good foot in front of you, that's where the stride comes in. I think.
And I really think when I get ready to get into a committed relationship where we living together and this and that, it would be important to me to have a meeting of the minds for myself and my mate and my ex and his mate to sit down together and have a conversation about how we're going to support each other to support our kids. That is so important to me, and I think that causes a lot of strife in blended families because you're just doing things and you're not thinking about the feelings of the other person, which you should because you had strong feelings for them at one time.
Right.
And also, how do we come together to be a support base for the child?
How do we do that?
How do you do that?
Well, being honest is so important. Put everything out there when it comes down to we're going to do this for real. You have to lay it all out there, the things that are going to come up. Like for me, I have a child who's autistic. Although he's doing very well, is this a problem? To my future mate, will he be able to accept that his stepson is autistic, or is that going to mess with his manhood, or or the way he operates, or his look? He can't look good walking down the street. I don't know, because now
I'm so over you, girl. You can't.
Your autistic son is messing with my look. That can happen.
Oh my goodness.
That can happen. People are fickle about what they're fickle about. Everybody's on a different soul journey. And that can be, how you said things can come up that break the deal breakers. So I really think that honesty is so important when you're blending these families together.
Yes. Oh, most definitely. And letting the other, just having a meeting of the minds with women coming together and knowing that I want, and I think that my kid's stepmom knows that there is nothing romantic that's going on between myself and her husband.
Why do people carry on like that?
Is totally over. But if she saw us together talking, or she hear us on the phone or something to that effect, she doesn't have that oh my God in her heart, because we have come together and sat down and talked about, well, this is where we are. I just think that why are you looking at me like that?
Because I've known people, and I would never call no names because you can't judge nobody.
True.
But I have seen people do blended families where it's really blended. It's still some motion in the ocean going on, the tide pull back and roll back in. Why do people feel like just because they got long years of history that it's okay to jump into the sack once in a while? That is just a mess.
I have no idea.
That's what you were referring to,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Because that's really bad energy. How can you face another woman or another man and you still intimate with the person that they're with, even though y'all not together and you got this blended family that you're attending to? Why are you still just... that's it for today's Truth.
Yes.
I'm Teresa Ray Butler.
I'm Roxie H, and thanks so much for tuning in. The inspirational quote of today is, family means putting your arms around each other and being there. Author unknown.